Hi everyone. Thanks for giving me the time at your course. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Um, yeah, so I think the key thing is a transformation, like Jan's just said. So there's many large scale projects that you can run both in security and technology and outside that are literally just delivering. But actually, the real differentiation with a transformation is that sort of people element and the scale of change and impact that you're having on the organization. Because ultimately, you want to end up with security really embedded as part of that culture and DNA of the organization. And so it is a journey. It's not like something that happens overnight. And so planning for that end in sight is important when you're sort of establishing and planning your program. And so you want to be considering not just what are those incremental benefits and outcomes that are going to be delivered from a security perspective, both for technology and the solution that you're putting in, as well as sort of the process element, but what does that mean for the people at the end of it? How is that changing their day to day? What does that change mean, and how does it really lift the sort of dial from a security perspective and from a maturity perspective? And so when you're planning your sort of program, you kind of want to have not just what are those technical outcomes, but also what is that move in terms of culture and in terms of the people aspect as well. So, there's a lot of sort of, you've probably already read the playbook, the transformation resilience playbook. There's a lot of sort of key points in there, but for example, making sure that you know what success looks like and what your target state should be and where you want to be in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years time is important, because obviously you want to be able to define in your roadmap how you can get to a certain security, maturity, and certain stage from a risk reduction perspective. But because cyber changes so, the landscape changes and the threat changes so frequently, you do need to also be sort of refreshing your strategy quite regularly, more so than you would for some other sort of typical change programs. And so, for example, with the program that I've just sort of moved on from, but sort of was running for a number of years at IAG, the strategy that we started out with like 4.5 years ago that we sort of executed against is very different to the strategy now. Because in the early stages, it was very much about we were at a low level of maturity and we just wanted to get some capability in so we could really fully understand our current state and where our real risks were. And then as you sort of execute against that and you start moving and demonstrating benefits, and you can really see where you've actually reduced risk and where you still have gaps, you need to sort of change it again. So you find that the strategy needs to be refreshed from not just an external landscape perspective and what might have changed, but also from an internal perspective as well, and how your business goals may have changed too. So having a program and a roadmap that is able to flex and adapt based on what that strategic objective is going to be, both from an organizational objective as well as from a security perspective, is important. And then obviously having those incremental outcomes and delivery and benefits along the way is important to keep that sort of stakeholder buy-in and sort of engagement. So you want to have your agility and flexibility along the way, but also have a goal in sight. And I think the other thing from a transformation perspective as well, and in fact for all programs really, sort of the people element is actually the key to the success of it. So that's considering, that the people that you're going to deliver to, the change and the impact that you will be doing to them, making sure that's factored in. So as Jan had said about the change and comms piece, that's really key. We had I brought in a dedicated change and comms person that was actually going to support and provide a roadmap, so we could communicate what change was happening in advance to the impacted stakeholders. And obviously, depending on the size of your transformation and how much budget you've got, you sort of need to flex. But essentially, you do want to have someone dedicated in the same way that you would have, you want your program to have dedicated project personnel, because ultimately it doesn't work if you try and deliver change with people that are already, your cyber experts that already got a day job. You need someone that's dedicated to that delivery. And so really having the right people, both from a delivery perspective, the security SMEs that can inform and support what you want to do in terms of delivery, as well as the change expertise and that understanding of how the impact is going to be for the people across the organization, is really fundamental. And then obviously from one of the other key differences with cyber and with it being a transformation is that there's a large element of that sort of education and awareness piece, because obviously your insiders and your users are that threat to you in terms, not deliberately, but in terms of them potentially being targets for phishing and clicking on that link. So you want to explain and be able to explain to them the why, and having a sort of a dedicated project or focus that is looking at education and awareness as part of your overarching program is really good, because it raises that awareness across the organization of the importance of security. And even sort of the engagement with the board, because you obviously really do need that board and senior level commitment. You can even sort of, what works well with us was actually engaging the board and giving them sort of education sessions, so that they, we didn't have the program so remote from them. We actually made sure that they were understanding of where that investment had gone and why it was important. So I think the only other thing I would say in terms of people and how that needs to make it a success is very much, it's the transformation program is cross-functionally impacting as well. So a lot of the technology that you're delivering is potentially going to be run by a business unit that's not in security. I mean, often technology are actually running the platforms. So having the other business units brought in and governing across functionally what you want to achieve is also important. So really having buy-in from all different levels and cross-functionally is quite key to being able to be successful.